No is a complete sentence. What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome, I'm Coach Simona. I upload weekly videos on how to simplify your life and become the person you aspire to be. So if you're interested in personal development, hit the big subscribe button below and the bell next to it to get notified every time I upload a new video. Now let's jump right into the video. Alright guys, before we jump into my 3-step process on how to say no to people without feeling guilty, I want to start off this video by addressing the possible reasons why you may be struggling to set healthy boundaries. Why is it hard to say no? Having people-pleasing tendencies is one of the most common reasons why it's so hard to set healthy boundaries with others. If you've experienced trauma in your past and you had an overbearing parent or somebody violated your privacy at a very young age, it's very possible that you have a problem to say no without feeling guilty. If you think you have people-pleasing tendencies, check out my video on how to stop people-pleasing. I will leave a link below. Now here are some questions you can ask yourself if you want to find out the root cause for not being able to say no. Will this person still like me? Will I miss an important opportunity? Will I seem lazy or uncaring? Will they think I'm a bad person? Is it their reaction that I'm actually dreading? When you become aware of the actual reason you have resistance to say no, it will be much easier for you to take action. Now let's break down the entire process of saying no into 3 parts. Before you say no, when it's time to say it, and after you say it. The first step of the entire process is the before you say no stage. Now let's get into my first step. Honor your truth. There's a misconception that saying no to people makes you selfish or cold. The truth is that if you don't respect your own boundaries, you're telling yourself that you cannot be trusted. If you're used to putting other people's needs before your own, that's a sign that you're not taking good care of yourself. Your needs should always come first. Think about it. If you don't prioritize yourself, who else is gonna do that for you? By saying no to people and opportunities that don't align with your truth, you're showing self-respect. The surprising thing is that once you get over the initial fear of how the other person's gonna react, you will find that in time, they will respect you more as well. When you don't know what your values are, it's very difficult to say no because you don't know what's important to you. I've made a downloadable cheat sheet for you guys, so you can click the link in the description box below or visit bit.ly/98values. My second tip is to think of all the things you say no to when you say yes to something else. No matter if it's a job opportunity or a coffee date with a friend or even something bigger, if it doesn't add value to your life, you have every right to say no. After all, every time you say no to something, you're actually saying yes to something else. I actually heard Tim Ferriss say something that really resonated with me. If it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. One way to be able to determine whether or not you should say no is to remember your why. By knowing what your goals are and what you want to achieve in life, it will be much easier to make decisions based on your values and principles. There is a great book on principles, and surprisingly enough, it's called Principles. It's by Ray Dalio, and it's actually a great recommendation by my husband. So shout out to him for this one. I will link it below. My third tip is to reframe what saying no means in terms of you and others. Understand that saying no is beneficial for both sides. When you think about it, you're doing the other side a disservice because they don't know who you really are. Would you want your family, friends, or colleagues to have an entirely different picture of you? Wouldn't it be better to speak your mind and know that they're honest with you too? If you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, by saying no, you're showing this person where you stand, and they even get to know you a little bit better. Now let's recap what we learned so far so that we can move into stage 2. Stage 1. Before you say no. 1. Honor your truth. 2. Think of all the things you say no to when you say yes to this. And 3. Reframe what saying no means in terms of you and others. Now stage 2 is all about what to say when it's time to say no. My first tip here is to be firm but polite. One of the reasons you felt guilty before is because you may have not communicated your boundaries effectively. Here's how to change that. Communicating your boundaries is all about letting know the other person where you stand and saying no if something is violating your privacy or well-being. Remember, saying no is your right. You can do that no matter who's asking or what's at stake. The important thing is to keep calm, be assertive, and in some cases it helps to rehearse what you're gonna say so you feel better about it. You can work on your tone of voice and posture. And if you struggle with low self-esteem or don't know how to assert yourself, watch my video on how to become more confident. I will link it below. Here are some examples of being firm but polite when you want to say no. You can screenshot them or simply come back to this video if you want a reminder. When someone pressures you to make a tough decision, I will have to sleep on it. I have a policy of not making decisions right away. When you're dealing with an angry person, if you continue to yell at me, I'll have to hang up the phone or leave the room. When someone close to you wants to talk while you're at work, I've decided to take all personal calls in the evening in order to get my work done. I will need to call you later. When someone offers you to go out, but you feel overwhelmed with other things. Thank you for inviting me, but I have a lot on my mind at the moment. How about a rain check? When someone offers you a work-related opportunity, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm flattered. Unfortunately, I've got my priorities set for the year, month, or week. And this just doesn't fit in. Again, thanks for thinking of me. When a family member wants you to do something that you don't feel like doing. I love you and I care about you, but that is not something that I feel comfortable doing. Or that is not something that I can help you with. When you want to back out of a commitment. I know I agreed to do this. But after reviewing my schedule, I now realize that I won't be able to give it my best attention. I would like to help find a replacement by the end of next week. When someone is critical of you, it's not okay with me that you comment on my weight. I would like to ask you to stop. When you already have too much on your plate, although this organization is important to me, I need to decline your request in order to honor my family's needs. These are some helpful examples on how to say no, but every situation is different, so consider the relationship you have with this person and how much history you have. Tip number 2. Don't over-explain yourself. Hey there! Are you enjoying this video? If that's the case, you're gonna love my new book, 111 Ways to Simplify Your Life. Sometimes it takes a while to realize that everything you've been searching for is already here. You just need to know how to see it. I've compiled 111 proven ways that I recommend to my clients and I use daily myself. Learn more at coachsimona.com/book. Now back to the video. When setting boundaries, try not to over-explain yourself or defend yourself. Be firm, polite, and assertive. If you start over-explaining yourself, you will not only discard everything you've done so far, but you will also give the other person the opportunity to guilt you into saying yes. Have you ever seen a confident person over-explain themselves? Of course not. When you know where you stand, you don't need to over-explain yourself. In fact, the question why puts you in a defensive position. So if someone asks you and you don't want to answer, you can always say, because that is what I think, or that is my decision, and stay quiet after that. Which brings me to tip number 3. Offer an alternative or make a counteroffer. When you say no to someone, this doesn't necessarily mean that you don't want to have anything to do with that person or that opportunity. It may simply mean that it's not a fit for you at the moment. As I mentioned in one of the examples before, you could always offer a counteroffer, such as, how about a rain check? Or, I would love to talk more about that in the future. I would love to keep in touch with you. Now, setting healthy boundaries with a family member is probably the hardest task, because they know your triggers and they know how to push your buttons. So if that's the case for you, be respectful. Make them feel loved and cared for. And offer no additional explanation, because at the end of the day, you are the one who's making the decision, and they should respect that. Now let's recap stage 2 before we move on to stage 3. Stage 2. What to do when it's time to say no. 1. Be firm but polite. 2. Don't over-explain yourself. 3. Offer an alternative or make a counteroffer. Now, stage 3 is all about what you do after you say no, and especially if their reaction isn't good. Number 1. Don't be defensive. As I briefly mentioned before, if you over-explain yourself, that's a defense mechanism to alleviate the guilt. And what we want to do in this video is to teach you how to not feel guilty when you say no. And if you fight this person to prove your point, this is the other side of the same coin. You just chose fight over flight, and it's still not a healthy response. Watch your body language. Sit or stand straight. Feel confident about your decision and let them react the way they want to. You had your right to say how you feel about it. Now is their turn to react however they choose to. For the longest time, I didn't want people to get upset with me when I said no, but that was a huge mistake. And here's the lesson I've learned. You can't control how other people react to you. You can only control how you react to them. Which actually leads me to tip number 2. Don't respond to emotional manipulation. Many people like to use emotional manipulation to bend you into doing what they want you to do. Guilt-tripping, gaslighting, making a dramatic entrance, victimizing themselves, or making you feel as if you're the worst person on earth. Honestly, I've seen it all from all different kinds of people. Here's how to spot emotional manipulation and what to do about it. When someone says something like, "I can't believe you're such a blank," or "I gave it all for you and this is how you repay me," "I thought we were friends," they're trying to get you to do what they want. They're testing your boundaries. And now when you know what emotional manipulation looks like, you can choose not to engage with it. The easiest way to disarm someone who's trying to manipulate you is to be as non-reactive as possible. If you feel attacked, detach yourself from the situation and say something like, "We're both upset right now, and I don't like where this is going. I'm gonna leave the room now, and we can talk later." I have to make a very important disclaimer here. If you think this person is violent and you're worried about your life, please seek professional help. Your safety is more important than saying no, so please talk to a therapist before you take any action. And my third tip after you've said no is to reaffirm your decision and set consequences if necessary. When the other person has a strong negative reaction or they're trying to talk you out of it, it's important to reaffirm your decision. If they're not willing to listen to you or respect your boundaries, you may need to set some consequences in motion. Here are some consequences you can communicate to them. If you continue disrespecting me, I will leave the room, the house, or ask you to leave. If you continue to repeat the behavior, I will consider all of my options, including leaving the relationship. If you keep asking me to lend you money, I will stop taking your calls. I know it may seem hard. It is hard, especially in the beginning. But there is nothing quite like the feeling of being true to yourself. When you don't let other people step all over you, you will create a healthier relationship not only with them, but also with yourself. If you're worried that you're gonna lose some people, don't. If they don't honor your boundaries, you really don't want them in your life. Now, before we head into my bonus tip, I have a question for you. What little step can you take today to set healthy boundaries with someone in your life? Share in the comments below. Now, let's recap my 3 tips on what to do after you say no. 1. Don't be defensive. 2. Don't respond to emotional manipulation. And 3. Reaffirm your decision and set consequences if necessary. And here's my final bonus tip. Separate yourself from others. Here's the thing. We all have agendas, and we all want to achieve different things in life. But if you're constantly enmeshing yourself with others and don't set healthy boundaries, you will lose your sense of self. You will no longer be able to tell what is good for you anymore, because you're going to be more worried about other people's reactions than your own well-being. If you want to be a healthy human being, you need to be able to separate your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs from others. By detaching yourself, you will create enough space between you and others, and that will allow you to express yourself more freely. At the end of the day, saying no to people is about minimizing the cognitive dissonance that's happening inside yourself. When you say yes to people or things that don't really resonate with you, you're going against your own beliefs and values. That creates the so-called cognitive dissonance, which is essentially the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as relating to behavioral decisions and attitude change. The most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. Only by setting healthy boundaries with others, you will be able to live in harmony and peace, which actually leads me to today's tweetable. No is a complete sentence. If you found this video helpful, please like it. And don't forget to download your free cheat sheet with the top 98 values to choose from. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because in the next video we're going to talk about how to stop being lazy and get productive. In the meantime, while you wait for this video, I post a lot of content on personal development, so make sure to check out these two videos as well. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye!